Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing in the lightly armoured tier 10 German medium tank, the Leopard. Now, I know I featured this vehicle just recently on the channel where we were talking about whether it sucks. The result of that, if for some reason you didn't see that video, is to say, look, it can be very good in the right situation, but also, I think all in all, it's just not quite good enough for the general population to be able to be impactful in the majority of their games, which has resulted in the vehicle having the lowest win ratio of any of the tier 10 medium tanks. However, today's video isn't going to be talking about how competitive the Leopard is. Today's video is going to be showing you how you can use a vehicle like this, and hopefully you can apply this to your other lightly armoured fast vehicles to be a great support tank. Alright, so in World of Tanks, how do I feel you can be a great support vehicle? Well, number one, you can either splash things in an artillery, right? Ooh, that's a controversial way to start this video, right? Yeah, alternatively, what you can do in your light tanks and even some of your mediums, and you know what, tank destroyers and heavy tanks in the right scenarios, is you can spot out for your allies, and if you can provide them with vision, you can allow people who usually like to camp at the back to still be effective in the game. For example, these UDES, the STA-1, the 432, the Scorpion, all chilling in what I would call position B of this map. So I think that, obviously this is like C, this is the B position, this is the A, and then B, and then C. And I'm not grading that as in A is the best, B, like C is the worst. I'm trying to break it down into the fact that Wargaming quite often with their maps down a corridor have three key positions. One right in the center, and then two Bs which are kind of like supporting roles for trying to win that A location, and then C locations which are further back. Now, what I like to do in my support vehicles, if I think I can be cheeky enough, is try and take the A position right from the get-go of the game. Because quite often, what happens is a lot of people are more happy going to B. And then what they do is they kind of get bored about a couple of minutes into the game, sometimes 3 minutes, sometimes you have to wait even longer, especially if you're playing on the North American server. And then they start to advance, or they start to get bored and they get more cheeky and they start to poke out. Now, because I've taken A and I've extended all of the vision for our team on this map, all the way probably too much around this kind of circle. I think this kind of area, I'm probably not going to be able to spot them if they've got good camo. And it looks like a Bat Chatillon 12T managed to sneak right through our lines to get in to kill our artillery, which is unfortunate. If my view range had been a little bit better, even though I think I'm trying to max it out on this tank, although my commander is fairly fresh, I might have been able to catch him. But now that they've tried to push from their B position to the central position that I was dominating, the T-44 gets mopped up, and once the T-44 support vehicle is gone, then we can isolate the other tanks like the TVP, and we force the AMX-30B to fall back. And now is the time to push out. We've had that supporting role, we've extended our view range for our team, we've got 2,000 spotting, albeit against lower tiered tanks, tier 8 medium tanks, but still valuable because that allows us to put pressure on the tier 10s. Now, other ways you can be a support tank are, obviously, you can try and track tanks, or you can just try and help your allies turn the engagement in their favor. Alright, so I'm not going to repair my ammo rack until I fire. Now, why would you not repair your ammo rack until you fire? Well, maybe I would get tracked, maybe I would lose my gun, something like that. Of course, you take the risk of them hitting your ammo rack again and going up in a single shot, which is something that quite often happens in a Leopard, but I felt like the 30B wasn't going to shoot me in time, and I didn't really worry too much about the Borsig. So a bit of a misplay there. I didn't manage to hit the Borsig in the top of the turret, and the artillery puts a round towards my side. Luckily, he doesn't hit the flush part of the side of my vehicle, and so we get to just ease our way over the ridgeline and shut down the tier 8 German tank destroyer. Alright, so that UDES having camped at kind of like the B location over here. Now YOLO's in to try and pick up the artillery, but unfortunately, as we're going to see, while he puts in a shell, I believe from his 90mm, or maybe he was spotting for the STA-1, he gets shut down hard, and then suddenly the Jagdpanther and the Skoda T50 are nailing the STA-1 to stop him from being able to get towards the artillery. Now, I thought the last known artillery location was about here. Where do I actually end up firing? I think it's about here. Oh no, I'm firing over there. Maybe it was actually. I'm using the line indicator on the minimap to try and guess where the artillery is. But with him alive, I'm now very nervous. And whoa, hello! 4 tanks on the enemy team making their way back. This is not an engagement that a support vehicle is going to win. And thank goodness I booked it out of there because the artillery smashes me. And the Skoda's now unloading on my backside. That's not something that I want. Now I turn left. Why do I turn left? So I can obviously use the rocks to avoid damage from the Skoda. And hopefully I can get unspotted around here. Now I need to hard right to actually be able to get up into this location. And I decide that I don't even want to fire at the Skoda, even though I probably could have managed to connect a shot there, purely because if I get spotted again, to all intents and purposes, I could die. Now obviously I let this 432 die, but if I just stayed there, I really don't think I could have changed that engagement in our favor. Maybe I could have killed the 257, possibly the Skoda T50 as well, but undoubtedly the 704, the artillery, and the Conqueror would have finished us off. Now, this is what's going to happen when you try to play the support role in World of Tanks, and also when you try to run away so you can continue to play your support role. Sometimes people are going to become quite upset about that. Now, I completely understand why the 432's unhappy, because I guess he just got killed. When you just got killed in World of Tanks, it's very simple to react with that kind of like focused part of your frustration and your anger. You know, you're not thinking holistically as to why the Leopard might run away from the 5 tanks with artillery support that were bombing it down the hill towards them. So that now I can keep this position locked down for our allies and hopefully get these guys back into the fight. Because I was hoping that the enemy team were going to continue to push right through here, and if they had done, and I'm hoping this ELC even 90 will spot out for us, we should be absolutely awesome. But instead, the 257 has actually snuck across up here, and I'm hoping that he's going to get spotted. Well, hopefully that he's going to get shot at, and I connect a lovely shot there into the Conqueror. But for some reason, I get spotted. Maybe that Conqueror's got incredible view range, or alternatively, maybe the 257 had his turret poked up over the ridge. I'm going to hopefully hit the Skoda. I don't even stop to look because I got to keep moving to try to avoid the shells, and the Skoda puts a round into me for 369 damage. That's quite high, putting me down to a one-shot for most vehicles from his average of 320. So now I feel that that position is too aggressive, so I'm going to fall back, because if the 257 proxy spots me here, then I'm just going to get killed from the side. And actually, the Scorpion manages to shut down the 257, which allows me to take up this position instead. Now we've got the Skoda right where we want him, and oh, come on. We bounce off a lightly armored Czechoslovakian auto-loading medium tank. Hopefully this one's going to go, and that one looked like it was flush. So hopefully the Skoda is now down to a one-shot. Now because the 257 is down again, I can push forwards, constantly thinking about the rings on the minimap right now, and that's something you should always be doing. It's thinking, will I get spotted here? Can I advance into a position aggressively and still not be spotted? And bam! The Scorpion G. I was actually pinging the minimap for him to get up into the bushes, and great job by him to shut down the FV4005. And now we've caught the Super Conqueror right out in the open. A shot into the lower plate lowers him down to 900 hit points, so we're still going to have to hit him 3 more times if we want to finish him off. But that's a great start to try and get back into the game in this 2 versus 5 situation. Looks like the Scorpion was spotted as the artillery splashes him a little bit. So that probably means that the enemies are going to put pressure up on him, and now I think that this Conqueror is going to be sneaking back up into this location, and so I fall back. And so it's about constantly thinking, am I going to be spotted here? Can I advance into a more aggressive position safely to still spot out? And what's the worst case scenario that will happen if I advance into that location? Now you see that I encourage the Scorpion G to push up into the bushes, because if he just sits around here, nothing good is really going to come from that. However, he was up in these bush locations, I could probably protect him from the Super Conqueror that he would spot over the ridgeline. Alright, so now we're going to see World of Tanks 101 using bushes. If you're seeing this for the first time, I'll try and break it down for you very simply. If you sit in a bush and it's transparent for you, when you fire, when you're within about 10 meters of the bush, you will lose all the camo rating of the bush. However, if you pull back until, for me, the bush is now no longer transparent, it's opaque, you can actually shoot through it and your opponents won't be able to spot you. And that's how we've just nailed that Conqueror on the enemy team twice without getting spotted. And again, this is something that you can use in your support vehicles, just like the Leopard, to be putting in large amounts of damage. Pull back behind the trees, fire a clutch shot through the trees, and unfortunately a low roll means the Conqueror is still alive, but that was some pretty nice movements there, if I do say so myself. I often mess up things like that. You either don't quite pull back behind the tree enough, or you miss the clutch shot, but when the two things align, it does look pretty slick. But as I was saying, you can use that in your support vehicles to not only spot safely, but also damage tanks while remaining hidden. And then who needs armor when you can do things like that, right? Okay, so the Scorpion G slams down the Conqueror, so I'm going to go and get up into the bushes now to try and spot for the Super Conqueror and the Skoda who'll be coming across, but unfortunately it's the artillery on the enemy team who shuts them down. Alright, so in this scenario, I can't take, I don't have any time now. I've got to get my shots. I've got to be a bit more risky. So when you see me plow forwards and just shoot here, I'm thinking, am I going to get spotted? But when my sixth sense doesn't go off, that means I can go back up on the ridge to be a little bit more aggressive. So I'm expecting this Skoda to be in the middle of the map. Object 704 all the way up towards the north. And the Super Conqueror I thought was going to work towards these buildings and then maybe slowly work his way up around here. 704 spotted out in the open. I'm going to fire one clutch at the upper hull and unfortunately the ridgeline devours it. Alright, artillery's going to be focusing me. We hear the Skoda miss a shell, so I just go a bit further towards the right hand side of the ridgeline so I can be a bit more aggressive at the Object 704. And I don't have time to mess around here. I know he might hit me, but I just got to go for it because otherwise I'm going to get surrounded. And he bounces off the mantlet of my tank, which allows me to finish him off with a heat round. Woohoo! Good stuff for the Leopard there. Not exactly sure where it hit the tank. Must have been the mantlet. Yeah, right on top of the mantlet. And we hear the Skoda miss another shell, which means that to all intents and purposes, the Skoda's only got one round left in the magazine, or he's going to be reloading. I don't think I'm spotted right now. I think that I might be able to get the Skoda, but I'm wondering if this is the clean kill shot right now. And I decide that the Super Conqueror might be up around this location now. And so I would decide to advance along here. I'm putting the Super Conqueror around this location. You've always got to do that when you're in these one versus multiple tanks engagements. Okay, so I think the Super Conqueror is going to be coming around here. And so I want to try and cross the valley as quickly as I can to be able to get into safety. But oh no. Looks like I was wrong, ladies and gents. The Skoda, the Super Conqueror was not on top of the hill. The Super Conqueror actually took the low ground, came right through the archways here, manages to catch me out in the open, and whew, I mean, that heavy tank's got a better rate of fire with a higher caliber gun than this medium tank does, so shuts us down very quickly. In retrospect, I probably should have thought about the Super Conqueror taking the low route and appearing here a lot earlier than I thought. If that had been the case, maybe I could have snuck round here and tried to get distance. But I also felt very pressured at the time by the time limit left on the game. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I had to be aggressive. I had to try and finish the Super Conqueror off and then get into position to finish off the GW Tiger, who was a one-shot, obviously, but it wasn't to be. Anyway, this game, for me, was still super exciting, a nail-biter at the end. And it was really a great example of how you can play the support role for your team, but also not being afraid to abandon a flank and to relocate and then to put your team back in it, even if you feel like you have to let down your friends at time and get out of an unrealistic, well, an unwinnable situation. So irrelevant of the defeat, this was still an ace tanker because we got courageous resistance through a high caliber medal, which actually means this was 2,055 experience without daily doubles if we'd managed to win. And that was for 6,299 damage, and also must mention this 4005 putting in a big role, but more importantly, this Rheinmetall Scorpion Zero Captain, who while in a bottom tier tank still finished third on experience with 3 kills and was definitely influential in us having an opportunity to get back into this game. And while a couple of heat rounds did leave my vehicle, still a nice profit with or without a premium account. Not bad at tier 10. So while playing the support role is definitely one of the more tricky aspects of World of Tanks to master, if you can, it's a very powerful weapon to add to anyone's arsenal. And it's not just fast, lightly armored tanks that you can become a great support tank with. Sometimes, you know, I've been in my E100 and having to just hold on with dear life with a few hit points left by sitting in a bunch of bushes on Prokhorovka and still managing to spot out. And again, you don't need to be a super fast tank to use bush mechanics to be able to shoot unexpected opponents. One thing I'd really like to highlight from this video is what I mentioned about the different positions on the map and where you should try and go in your support tanks. Try and be as aggressive as you possibly can in your fast support vehicles, but again, reassess the situation constantly. Think, am I going to be spotted here? If the answer is yes, retreat. Then, once you feel that the situation is secure, advance again as far as possible without being suicidal. And if you guys find this aspect interesting, I've got a whole kind of like meta that I noticed on the North American server while I was playing there at TwitchCon, which is undoubtedly a more defensive server. Maybe I can give you a few tips and tricks for that as well. Anyway, ladies and gents, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. But if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments what you think about the different vehicles that can play the support role. And maybe you've got some tips and tricks for players out there who are struggling in some of their light tanks and also their lightly armored mediums. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.